A simple woman named Sarah Mitchell was viciously insulted, doused with champagne, and physically hauled from her VIP seat at the dazzling Milan Fashion Week showcase in New York City, her pleas drowned by the cruel laughter of the staff, until her billionaire husband, Daniel Grayson, arrived to unleash a reckoning that would leave them trembling. The grand hall shimmered with opulence, crystal chandeliers casting light on a sea of designer gowns, when Vanessa, a haughty staffer, sneered at Sarah's plain beige sweater and flung a glass of champagne in her face, soaking her hair and clothes. "Oops, thought you were the help," Vanessa cackled, as Kyle shoved Sarah's shoulder, barking, "Get out! You don't belong here!" Rick, a hulking guard, grabbed her arm, dragging her past gawking guests as she stumbled, drenched and humiliated. Yet a glint in her eye hinted at a secret so explosive it would soon bring the house down. Who was this woman? And what fury was about to strike? The trouble started almost immediately. A wiry usher named Kyle, his slicked-back hair gleaming under the lights, approached her with a frown. "Ma'am, I'm gonna need to see some ID or a ticket stub," he said, his tone clipped and condescending. Sarah glanced up, surprised, and offered a polite smile. "I have my badge right here," she said, lifting it for him to see. Kyle barely looked at it before scoffing. "Yeah, nice try. That could be fake. This section's reserved for VIPs. Real ones. You don't exactly fit the profile." His eyes raked over her sweater, lingering on her scuffed sneakers with a smirk. Sarah's cheeks warmed, but she kept her voice steady. "I'm waiting for my husband. He'll be here soon." Kyle rolled his eyes, crossing his arms. "Sure you are. Look, lady, this isn't a charity event. Move it, or I'll have you moved." Before she could respond, a second staffer, a tall, sharp-featured woman named Vanessa with a clipboard and a pinched expression, swooped in. "What's the holdup, Kyle?" she snapped, then sized Sarah up with a sneer. "Oh, I see. Another wannabe crashing the VIP zone." "Sweetie, this is Milan Fashion Week, not a thrift store pop-up. Those seats are worth more than your whole wardrobe." The words stung, but Sarah didn't flinch. She clasped her hands in her lap, her composure unshaken. "I'm supposed to be here," she said softly. "If you'd just check the list." Vanessa cut her off with a laugh, flipping through her clipboard dramatically. "Honey, I don't need a list to know you're out of your league. Look at you, jeans at a fashion show? Embarrassing." A few nearby guests, decked out in fur coats and dripping with diamonds, tittered behind their hands, their glances a mix of pity and amusement. Sarah felt the weight of their stares, but she didn't argue. She never did, not because she couldn't, but because she didn't need to prove herself to anyone. The situation escalated when a burly security guard named Rick lumbered over, his radio crackling. "Problem here?" he grunted, glaring down at Sarah. Vanessa smirked. "Yeah, this one thinks she's VIP. Get her out before she ruins the vibe." Rick didn't hesitate. He grabbed Sarah's arm, gently at first, then firmer when she didn't immediately stand. "Let's go, miss. You're done here." Sarah's breath hitched, but she rose gracefully, her dignity intact, even as her heart raced. "You're making a mistake," she said, her voice calm but firm. Kyle snorted. "The only mistake was you showing up. Hit the road." They didn't just usher her out. They made a scene. Rick half-dragged her past the velvet ropes, Vanessa trailing behind with a smug grin, and Kyle barking, "Next time, dress the part!" The crowd parted, some snapping photos with their phones, others whispering behind manicured nails. Sarah's sneakers squeaked against the polished floor as they shoved her toward the exit, her badge dangling uselessly. She stumbled slightly, but caught herself, standing tall as they dumped her outside the glass doors. The cool night air hit her face, and she exhaled, brushing a strand of hair from her eyes. As they passed the rows of VIP guests, one woman wearing a Versace gown stuck out her foot and tripped Sarah. She stumbled forward with a gasp, catching herself just before she fell. Laughter erupted. Real, mocking laughter. "Oh, look, the help's trying to stay upright," someone sneered. "Probably came to take coats." Another guest raised their phone and snapped a photo with the cruel caption, "VIP fail." Vanessa turned to wave at the onlookers like a celebrity on the red carpet. "Don't worry, folks," she called out, smirking. "We've got it under control. No imposters allowed on our runway." Kyle gave a mock bow. "Fashion is sacred," he declared, and the crowd actually clapped. Clapped. Sarah didn't cry. She didn't scream. But in that moment, the entire room betrayed her. She didn't cry. She didn't yell. She just pulled out her phone and dialed Daniel. He picked up on the second ring. "Sarah, where are you? I'm almost there." His voice was deep, steady, an anchor in the storm. She hesitated, then said, "I'm outside. They wouldn't let me stay in my seat." There was a pause, and when he spoke again, his tone was ice. "What do you mean, wouldn't let you? Who?" She summarized it quickly. Kyle's snark, Vanessa's insults, Rick's rough hands, keeping her voice even despite the lump in her throat. Daniel didn't say much, just, "Stay there. I'm pulling up now." The call ended, and Sarah waited, her silhouette framed against the glowing entrance. Minutes later, a black Rolls-Royce screeched to a stop curbside. Daniel Grayson stepped out, all 6'3" of him radiating power in a tailored black suit that cost more than most people's rent. His dark hair was swept back, his jaw tight with barely contained fury. He was a legend in New York, billionaire CEO of Grayson Industries, a man who'd turned a tech startup into a global empire, a front-row fixture at every major fashion event. Heads turned as he strode toward Sarah, his presence parting the crowd like a blade. He reached her in seconds, cupping her face gently. "You okay?" he asked, his gray eyes searching hers. She nodded, offering a small smile. "I'm fine. Just embarrassed." His expression darkened. "You shouldn't be. They should." Without another word, he took her hand and marched back inside, the doors swinging wide as if they knew better than to resist him. The show hadn't started yet. The lights were still dim, the runway empty, the audience buzzing with pre-show chatter. Daniel didn't stop at the VIP section. He walked straight to the center of the room, raised a hand, and shouted, "Stop everything!" His voice boomed, cutting through the noise like a gunshot. The music screeched to a halt. The crowd froze. A spotlight swiveled, landing on him, and Sarah standing quietly beside him. Kyle, Vanessa, and Rick, clustered near the stage, exchanged nervous glances. Vanessa stepped forward, plastering on a fake smile. "Mr. Grayson, welcome. We weren't expecting you so soon. Can I—" Daniel silenced her with a glare that could have shattered glass. "You kicked my wife out of her seat," he said, each word a dagger. "You insulted her, dragged her out like trash, all because she doesn't look like your idea of VIP. Explain that to me." The room went deathly still. Vanessa's smile vanished. "Your wife?" she stammered, her eyes darting to Sarah's plain sweater. Kyle paled, muttering, "We didn't know." Rick just stared at the floor, his beefy hands twitching. "Didn't know?" Daniel snapped, his voice rising. "You didn't need to know. That seat was hers, VIP, reserved, paid for. But you saw her clothes and decided she didn't belong. You humiliated her in front of everyone." He turned, addressing the stunned crowd. "This is Sarah Grayson, my wife, the strongest, most beautiful woman I know. And these clowns treated her like dirt because she doesn't flaunt her worth." Murmurs rippled through the audience. Shock, disbelief, a few gasps. Sarah stood serene, her beauty undeniable now that eyes were truly on her, but she said nothing, letting Daniel's words carry the weight. Then came the twist. Daniel pulled out his phone, dialed, and put it on speaker. "Elena," he said, his voice sharp. A woman's voice answered. "Elena Voss, the show's famed designer." "Daniel? What's going on?" He didn't mince words. "Your staff just threw my wife out of her seat, insulted her, physically removed her. I want them gone, or I'm pulling every dime of Grayson funding from this show tonight." Elena's response was immediate. "What? Who did this? They're finished. Give me names." Daniel rattled them off. Kyle, Vanessa, Rick, his tone unrelenting. Elena didn't hesitate. "Done. Security's on it. I'm so sorry, Daniel." "Sarah, are you there?" "I'm mortified." Sarah spoke for the first time since re-entering, her voice soft but clear. "It's okay, Elena. I just wanted to watch your show." The humility in her words only fueled Daniel's rage. "No, it's not okay," he said, turning back to the trio. "You're fired, all of you. Pack your crap and get out, now." Vanessa's jaw dropped. "You can't." Daniel cut her off. "I can. I'm a majority investor in this event. I say who stays and who goes, and you're gone." Kyle tried to protest, his voice shaking. "This is my career." Daniel stepped closer, towering over him. "Should have thought of that before you put your hands on my wife." Vanessa's face contorted with rage as she shoved past Kyle, pointing a trembling finger at Sarah. "You think you're some victim? Please! You waltzed in here like a nobody, wasting our time, acting all innocent while we bust our asses to make this show perfect." Her voice cracked into a scream, drawing every eye in the room. "I bet you planned this, tricking us into kicking you out so your big-shot husband could play hero. You're a fraud, and those rags you're wearing prove it." Kyle piled on, his sneer vicious. "Yeah, she's a leech. Probably begged her way into that VIP seat. We should have thrown her out faster." The venom in their words sliced through the air, a final desperate attack on Sarah's quiet grace, and the crowd's murmurs turned to stunned silence at their audacity. Daniel's eyes blazed as he stepped between Sarah and her accusers, his voice a low, dangerous rumble that silenced the room. "You're done talking. My wife didn't trick anyone. She earned that seat, just like she's earned every ounce of respect you'll never deserve. You judged her, mocked her, touched her, all because you're too shallow to see past a sweater. Well, here's your lesson. She's more powerful than you'll ever be, and I'll make sure the world knows your names for all the wrong reasons." He turned to Sarah, his tone softening. "You're the queen here, not them." Sarah lifted her chin, her beauty radiant against their defeat, and the crowd erupted in applause as the guards closed in, their fate sealed by the man who'd just turned their lives to dust. Daniel turned to the crowd again, his voice calm but thunderous. "Let me ask you something," he said, eyes sweeping the rows of stunned guests. "How many of you laughed when she was dragged out? How many of you took photos, whispered, stood by, and said nothing because she didn't look rich enough?" The silence was deafening. A few people looked down at their designer shoes. One woman discreetly deleted something off her phone. Daniel's jaw clenched. "You all played along with the show, but tonight the curtain drops on that performance." He pulled out his phone again. "I just sent a memo to every major investor in this circuit. If your name appears on any guest list beside Kyle, Vanessa, or Rick ever again, my money disappears." A ripple of panic surged through the crowd. Designers gasped. Influencers stiffened. Even the venue manager blanched. "This is Sarah Grayson," he said, pulling her close. "And from now on, if she's not welcome, none of you are." Security, real security, not Rick, swarmed in, 6 guards in black suits converging on the trio. Vanessa shrieked, "This is unfair! She didn't look the part!" Daniel's eyes flashed. "And you don't act it. Goodbye." Rick lunged forward, desperate. "I was just doing my job." Daniel didn't blink. "Your job was to check badges, not assault people. You're lucky I don't press charges." The guards grabbed them, Kyle kicking, Vanessa crying, Rick pleading, and hauled them toward the exit, their shouts echoing off the walls. The crowd watched, some filming, others whispering, as the three disappeared into the night. Daniel turned to the stage manager, a harried woman clutching a headset. "Restart the show when my wife's ready," he said. Then looked at Sarah. "You still want to stay?" She nodded, squeezing his hand. "I'd like that." He led her back to her seat, the best in the house, and sat beside her, his arm around her shoulders. The lights dimmed, the music swelled, and the show began. But the real spectacle had already happened. Sarah watched the runway, her calm restored, her strength a quiet force beside Daniel's thunder. Backstage, word spread like wildfire. Kyle, Vanessa, and Rick were blacklisted from every major fashion event in the city. Daniel's influence stretched far beyond this night. Vanessa's dreams of climbing the industry ladder shattered. She'd be lucky to get a gig folding clothes. Kyle's smug attitude earned him nothing but a reputation as a bully. Rick, the muscle of the group, found his security license under review, his career in ruins. They'd gambled on judging the wrong woman and lost everything in front of 1,000 witnesses. As the final model strutted off the runway, Daniel leaned over and kissed Sarah's forehead. "You're the real star here," he whispered. She smiled, her hazel eyes catching the light. "I just wanted to see the dresses." He chuckled, pulling her close. The crowd applauded, but for Sarah, the night wasn't about revenge. It was about being seen, not for her wealth, but for her grace. And for those who'd crossed her, it was a lesson they'd never forget. Hey, if this story hit you in the feels, smash that like button, share it with your crew, drop a comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more epic tales. Thanks for watching.